the blade stopped 3 inches from his throat. Marcus Chen didn't flinch. He'd learned long ago that showing fear to the Velthari only made them press harder. The princess held her curved weapon steady, her 4 eyes narrowing in that way her species did when they were deciding whether to kill or merely humiliate. The throne room had gone silent. 200 courtiers, advisors, and guards watched a human, a mere treaty escort, face down the heir to the most powerful empire in 3 galaxies. "You dare refuse me?" Princess Calvera's voice carried the harmonic undertones that made her people's speech sound like music. Right now, it sounded like a funeral dirge. "I am third in line to the eternal throne. My word is law on 17 worlds." Marcus kept his hands at his sides, his posture relaxed but not disrespectful. "Your word is law, Your Highness, but the child stays with me." The little girl clutching his leg couldn't have been more than 6 standard years old. She was Velthari, her silver skin marked with the blue patterns of a merchant clan. She'd run to him 15 minutes ago, her small hand grabbing his uniform jacket, her eyes wide with terror Marcus recognized from 100 war zones. She hadn't said why she was afraid. She didn't need to. The 3 nobles who'd been following her had told him everything with their predatory smiles. Those nobles stood near the princess now, their expressions carefully neutral. One of them, Lord Sekthar, had connections to the slave markets on the Outer Rim. Marcus had read the intelligence reports. "The child is not your concern," Princess Calvara said. Her blade didn't waver. "She belongs to House Ventali. They have rights to her service. She's 6. She's old enough to fulfill her family's debt." Marcus felt the little girl's grip tighten on his leg. Her name was Lyra. She'd whispered it to him, along with a plea in broken standard. "Please, don't let them take me, please." Her blade touched the collar of his uniform now. "You are here because Earth begged for a trade agreement. You are here because we permit it. Do not mistake our tolerance for weakness, human. Give me the child or I will take her over your corpse." Marcus met her eyes, all 4 of them. "Then you'll take her over my corpse." The throne room erupted in whispers. A human challenging a princess. It was unthinkable. It was suicide. The Velthari honor code demanded satisfaction. Blood for insult. Princess Calvara's blade drew back, positioning for a killing strike. "Enough." The voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the noise like a fusion torch through hull plating. Every head in the throne room turned toward the entrance. Even the princess lowered her weapon. Queen Shalnara entered with the kind of presence that made gravity itself seem negotiable. She was taller than her daughter, her silver skin marked with the deep purple patterns of the royal bloodline. She wore no crown. The Velthari considered crowns a barbaric affectation, but she didn't need one. 2 members of the Shadow Guard flanked her. Marcus had never seen them move. One moment the queen was alone. The next, they were there, their black armor absorbing light, their presence a promise of death to anyone who threatened their charge. The queen's 4 eyes focused on Marcus with an intensity that made the princess's anger seem like a child's tantrum. She crossed the throne room in silence, her robes flowing behind her like liquid starlight. When she reached Marcus, she looked down at the little girl still clutching his leg. Then she looked at him. Marcus had survived 3 years in the Proxima campaign. He'd stared down pirate warlords, negotiated with arms dealers, and once talked a terrorist out of detonating an antimatter bomb in a colony harboring. He'd learned to read people in high-pressure situations, to see past the masks they wore to the truth underneath. He couldn't read the queen at all. "Captain Marcus Chen," she said. Her voice carried harmonics that made his chest vibrate. "Treaty escort for the Earth Diplomatic Corps." "Decorated officer." "War hero." She paused. "Orphan." Marcus kept his expression neutral, but something cold slid down his spine. The queen wasn't reading from a file. She knew these things. Had known them before she walked into the room. "You would die for this child," the queen said. Not a question, a statement. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Why?" It was the simplest question and the hardest to answer. Marcus looked down at Lyra. She stared back up at him with eyes too old for her face, eyes that had already seen too much. "Because someone has to," he said. The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she did something that made every person in the throne room freeze. She reached up and touched the side of her neck, pressing against a small scale just below her jaw. When she pulled her hand away, her palm was stained with blue blood. She held her palm out to Marcus. "Do you know what this means, Captain Chen?" He'd studied Velthari customs for 6 months before accepting this assignment. A blood offering from royalty was sacred. It was only given to family, to bonded mates, or to those who had saved a royal life at risk of their own. I know, Your Majesty. Then you understand what I am about to tell you will change everything you believe about yourself. Marcus's throat went dry. I don't understand. The Queen glanced at her daughter. Calavara, clear the room. Shadow Guard remains. The princess stiffened. Mother, this human has... The single word carried the weight of 3 galaxies. Princess Calvara bowed, her movements stiff with barely controlled rage, and gestured to the courtiers. The throne room emptied in less than a minute. Only Marcus, the Queen, the 2 Shadow Guards, and little Lyra remained. The Queen knelt, bringing herself to eye level with Marcus. For the first time he saw something in her expression he recognized. Grief. Old grief, the kind that had been carried for years until it became part of someone's foundation. 34 standard years ago, the Queen said quietly, I had a son. Marcus's heart began to pound. He was my first child, the brightest star in an empire of stars. The Queen's voice carried harmonics of pain that made Marcus's chest ache. When he was 2 years old, our ship was attacked by raiders near the Terran border. In the chaos he was taken, stolen. We searched for years. We found nothing. No body. No trace. Just emptiness. Marcus couldn't breathe. The Queen reached out and touched his face with her blood-stained palm, leaving a mark on his cheek. You have your father's eyes, Calren. Even behind that human face, I see him. I see us. Marcus stumbled back, pulling Lyra with him. No, that's impossible. I'm human. I was born on Earth. I have records, genetic tests. You have what the Raiders gave you, the Queen interrupted. A manufactured past, a false identity. Genetic manipulation sophisticated enough to hide your true nature, even from yourself. She stood, her presence filling the room. But you cannot hide what you are, my son. Not from me, not from your blood. You're wrong. You have to be wrong.
You feel it, the Queen said. You have always felt it.
The sense that you do not quite fit in your own skin. The instinct to protect the vulnerable that goes beyond learned behavior. The way you move, the way you think, the way you stood against my daughter for a child you did not know. Her 4 eyes blazed. That is not human nature, Calreen. That is ours. One of the Shadow Guards stepped forward and removed their helmet. The face beneath was marked with patterns Marcus had never seen before, patterns that designated a bloodline keeper, a position that only existed to verify royal genealogy. We have monitored you since you entered our space, Captain Chen, the bloodline keeper said. We have analyzed your DNA from 3 separate sources. We have compared your biometric signatures against the royal archives. The match is absolute. You are Prince Calren, first heir to the Eternal Throne, son of Queen Shalnara and King Velthar the Wise. Marcus's legs gave out. He sat down hard, still holding Lyra. The little girl looked up at him with confusion, but she didn't let go. The Queen knelt again, closer this time. I know this is difficult. I know you have lived an entire life believing yourself human. But you must understand, you were stolen from us, taken by people who wanted to destroy our line, who thought hiding you among humanity would end our bloodline forever. Her voice softened. They were wrong. You thrived. And now, against all probability, you have come home. Earth is my home. Earth was your cage, the Queen corrected gently. A beautiful cage, perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. Here, you can be who you were meant to be. Here you can claim your birthright. Marcus looked at Lyra, the little girl who'd run to him for protection. The child who'd seen something in him worth trusting. If he was truly Velthari, truly royal, he could protect her. He could protect thousands like her. He could change the laws that allowed children to be sold for debt. He could also lose everything he'd ever known. I need time, he said. The Queen nodded. But first there is something you must do. She stood and gestured to Princess Calvara, who had remained near the entrance. My daughter challenged you. By our law, that challenge must be answered. Normally, this would mean combat to satisfaction. But you are my son, and she is your sister. I will not have my children spill each other's blood over a misunderstanding. Princess Calvara's expression was unreadable. Mother, the human... And you will treat him as such. The princess's 4 eyes widened. She looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and something in her expression shifted. Horror, perhaps, or recognition. No, she breathed.
We mourned him. We were wrong, the Queen said.
Our grief blinded us to the truth, but the truth stands before us now, whether we are ready for it or not. Princess Calvara crossed the room slowly, her earlier hostility replaced by something Marcus couldn't identify. When she reached him, she knelt, a gesture of respect he'd never seen her give anyone. "If this is true," she said quietly, "then I have committed a grave offense. I raised a blade against the heir to the throne. By law, I should be stripped of my rank. By law, you didn't know who you were threatening," Marcus countered. He didn't know why he was defending her. Maybe because he understood what it was like to have your world turned upside down in an instant. The princess met his eyes. "You truly do not remember us? Any of us?" "I remember foster homes on Earth. I remember military academies and war zones. I remember learning to survive." Marcus touched the mark the Queen's blood had left on his face. "I don't remember this." "Then we must help you remember," the Queen said. She offered her hand. "Come, Calvin. There is much you need to see.
Much you need to learn.
And much we need to teach you about who you truly are." Marcus looked at the offered hand, at the Queen who claimed to be his mother, at the princess who tried to kill him minutes ago and now knelt before him, at the shadow guards who watched everything with expressions carved from stone. Then he looked down at Lyra. "What about her?" he asked. The Queen smiled, the first real smile Marcus had seen from her. "She stays with you. You claimed her under your protection. As a prince of the realm, that claim is absolute. No one will touch her." Lyra's grip on his leg tightened, but this time it felt less like fear and more like hope. Marcus took a deep breath. He thought about Earth, about the life he'd built, about the identity he'd worn like armor for 34 years. Then he thought about the instincts that had always set him apart, the sense of purpose that had driven him to protect others even when it cost him everything. Maybe the Queen was right. Maybe he'd always been searching for something he couldn't name because it had been stolen from him before he was old enough to remember. Or maybe this was an elaborate manipulation, a political game he didn't understand yet. Either way, he couldn't walk away. Not from Lyra, not from the questions burning in his mind. Not from the possibility that everything he'd believed about himself was a lie built on an older, deeper truth. He reached out and took the Queen's hand. Her skin was warm, her grip strong. When she pulled him to his feet, he felt something shift inside him. Not a physical sensation, but something deeper. Recognition, perhaps, or remembrance, trying to surface through decades of buried memory. "Come," Queen Shalnara said. "Let me show you the home you never knew you had." As they walked toward the throne room's private entrance, Princess Calvara fell into step beside him. She didn't speak, but her posture had changed. The hostility was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like curiosity. "You really would have let me kill you," she said finally, "for the child." "Yes, that is either the greatest courage I have ever witnessed or the greatest foolishness." Marcus glanced at her. Can't it be both? Something that might have been a smile flickered across her face. "Perhaps you are Velthari after all, brother. We have always had trouble distinguishing between the two." The private corridors beyond the throne room were a stark contrast to the public spaces. Here the walls were carved with scenes from Velthari history, battles, treaties, coronations. Marcus recognized none of it, but something about the artistry felt familiar in a way that made his chest ache. They entered a chamber that seemed to exist outside normal space. The walls were transparent, showing stars so bright and close Marcus felt he could reach out and touch them. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a single crystal. "This is the memory stone," the Queen explained. "It holds the genetic imprints of every member of the royal bloodline for the past 1,000 generations. When a child is born, we record their pattern. When they die, we honor their memory here." She approached the pedestal and placed her hand on the crystal. It glowed with soft blue light. "When you were taken, we could not bear to record you as dead, so we left your pattern active, waiting." "Hoping." The Queen looked at Marcus. "Place your hand beside mine." Marcus hesitated. Once he did this, there would be no going back. The question of his identity would be answered definitively. He thought about the little girl holding his hand, about the life he could give her if he embraced this impossible truth. Then he thought about Earth, about the people who'd raised him, about the man he'd become, whoever he was, human or Velthari, Marcus Chen or Prince Kelleran. He'd made a choice the moment he refused to hand Lyra over to those nobles. He'd chosen to be the kind of person who protected the vulnerable, no matter the cost. That choice didn't change based on his species. He placed his hand on the crystal. The world exploded into light and memory. He saw a woman with silver skin singing to an infant, her voice carrying harmonics that spoke of love so pure it hurt. He saw a man with deep purple patterns laughing as he lifted a toddler into the air, teaching him to see the stars not as distant lights but as homes waiting to be explored. He saw a sister, younger than him in this memory, reaching tiny hands toward her big brother with absolute trust. He saw the ship, the attack, the terror of small hands being ripped from larger ones, the screaming, the darkness. He saw everything he'd lost and never known he'd lost. The light faded. Marcus was on his knees, tears streaming down his face. The Queen knelt beside him, her own face wet with the same grief, the same relief, the same impossible joy. "Welcome home, my son," she whispered. "Welcome home." Marcus looked up at her, and his mother, and felt something break open inside him. Not breaking apart, breaking free. "I remember," he said, his voice cracking. "I remember you. I remember all of it." Princess Calvara knelt on his other side, her earlier hostility completely gone. In her eyes, Marcus saw the little girl from his memories, the sister who'd adored her big brother. "Call Ren," she said softly. "I thought I had lost you forever." He touched the bloodline mark on his face, then looked at Lyra, who watched everything with wide, confused eyes. "But maybe being lost was how I learned to find my way home. There will be time for tears later. For now, we must make this official. The Empire must know their prince has returned." "And Earth?" Marcus asked. "What happens to my life there?" "That is for you to decide," the Queen said. "You are the heir. Your choices shape the future of 3 galaxies. Whatever you choose, we will support you." Marcus looked at the stars beyond the chamber's transparent walls. Somewhere out there, Earth spun through the void, home to 7 billion humans who had no idea one of their decorated war heroes was actually an alien prince. Somewhere out there, his old life waited, familiar and comfortable and safe. But here, holding the hand of a frightened child, standing beside family he'd just remembered, Marcus felt something he'd never quite felt on Earth. He felt like he belonged. "I'll need to contact Earth," he said finally. "Let them know I'm resigning my commission, and I'll need to establish protocols for Lyra's protection. If I'm going to be a prince, I'm going to use that power to make sure what happened to her never happens to another child." The Queen's smile could have lit stars, spoken like a true heir of the eternal throne. Princess Calvara touched his shoulder, a gesture of solidarity Marcus recognized from his newly returned memories. "You're really going to change everything, aren't you, brother?" Marcus looked at Lyra, at the trust in her eyes, at the hope he'd given her simply by refusing to abandon her. "Yes," he said, "I really am." The Queen gestured to the shadow guards. "Prepare the Grand Hall. We announce the return of Prince Kelron at sunset." She turned to Marcus. "The Empire will celebrate for a month. Every world under our protection will mark this day as a new beginning." "No pressure," Marcus muttered, but he was smiling. As they left the memory chamber, heading toward whatever came next, Marcus felt the weight of 2 identities settling onto his shoulders, not fighting each other, but merging into something new. He was Marcus Chen, the human who'd learned to survive in the darkness. He was Prince Kelron, heir to an empire that spanned 3 galaxies. He was both. He was neither. He was whoever he chose to be. And right now, he chose to be the person who kept his promises. Lyra looked up at him as they walked. "Are you really a prince?" she asked in her small voice. Marcus knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. "I guess I am. Does that scare you?" She thought about it seriously, her young face solemn. Then she shook her head. "You're still you. That's what matters." Out of the mouths of children, Marcus thought, came the truths adults spent lifetimes trying to learn. "Yes," he said, pulling her into a gentle hug. "I'm still me, and I'm still going to protect you. That's a promise." As the announcement of Prince Calren's return rippled across 3 galaxies in waves of shock and celebration, as Queen Shalnara stood before her people and reclaimed the son she'd thought lost forever, Marcus Chen, it wasn't the future he'd imagined when he woke up that morning. It wasn't the life he'd planned or the destiny he'd expected. But as he stood there, caught between worlds, belonging fully to neither, and somehow to both, Marcus realized something profound. Home wasn't a place. It wasn't a planet or a species or a name on a genetic registry. Home was the moment you decided who you wanted to be and found the courage to become that person, regardless of where you came from or what you'd lost along the way. He'd lost everything. He'd found something greater. And in the end, That was the only truth that mattered. The alien princess had challenged him. The alien queen had revealed who he truly was. But Marcus Chen, Prince Calran, heir to 3 galaxies, protector of one small girl, had revealed the most important truth of all. He was exactly who he'd always been, someone who refused to abandon those who needed him, no matter what it cost.